partnership with Tom Herring from MIT, and we've also got a new starter at GA who's going to be helping me out with the role as well. It's Splinter. So if you start seeing emails from him, he's helping us out as well. Hopefully we'll see more of him as time goes by. So I'm pretty excited to be here at Wuhan. I have a couple of personal reasons. I've had a lot of friends and colleagues that I've met to the time that I've been doing my PhD, or who've been my PhD supervisors, and a lot of colleagues that I've worked with have come from Wuhan. So it's really nice to be here and actually see Wuhan through my own eyes and hear what they've been talking about, and I'm really enjoying the experience, so it's great to be here. The other thing that's really important about this workshop is that it's the last one we have before we start the reprocessing run for ITR 2020. So this is the last time we come as a group and gather together, and we need to decide on the models that we're going to use for processing. So I'm asking everyone to try and think a little bit harder than they normally would, and try and decide what models they want to apply to the next reprocessing run. What kind of things can we do to improve as our working groups? What sort of targeted research needs to be looked at to get things done? And how can we better support our users? So are we meeting all of those sort of targets, and what can we do? In the poster hall, we have a number of very good posters that you should make sure you definitely go and see. There's a number by ESA, Code, and a number of others out there. I would like to highlight somewhat biasly Tao Lee's one on the developments of analysis center software that we're doing at GA. Make sure you get down there and see what we're doing in terms of down there, and plus all the other authors. For the poster presentations, we ask everyone just to go down in their poster alignment slot and just make sure yourself available during your poster session for questions. So make yourself available for a couple of questions. So I wanted to give a quick update on the status of the IGS products. So the first one I'll start off with is the IGS Ultra Rapids. The IGS Ultra Rapids are mainly used by the real-time community. And so what I'll focus on here is the IGS Ultra Rapid predicted orbits. On the left here we have the weighted RMS values of all of the ACs compared to the rapid orbit product. And we did have a little problem with the NGS solution in the predicted orbits, but that's all right. They came back and managed to resolve their issue after a couple of weeks to resolve that. Apart from that, all of the ACs have been tracking at around about the 30mm weighted RMS level for a predicted orbit for GPS. If you look at the product itself and you take a 24-hour arc of those observations for the ultra-rapid predicted orbits, we can see that we're also travelling around about 30mm RMS as you go through time. There is some variations through time. We do have some outliers that are coming through there, and that's related to orbit modelling issues, of course. So we still have some improvement we need to do in our orbit modelling, even for GPS. If we go to the rapid products, most of the weighted ACs are performing very well. They're performing at around about the 10mm RMS level. So there's quite a tight cluster there, and that's been fairly consistent for a very long time. If you look at the comparison between the IGS rapid products and the final products, you'll see that they're very similar in terms of internal precision. The major notable thing that happened for the IGS Ultra Rapids over the last year and a half was an improvement in the code clocks around about week 2000, 2005. We saw a decrease in the standard deviation, and looking forward to hearing about Stefan's talk, or make sure you visit Roll's poster to hear more about what they've been doing to improve the clocks. For the finals, well, it's pretty boring for the finals. They're just moving along pretty straight, around about the 10mm level again. Not much has been happening, we're just keeping a standard precision, and we seem to be plateauing out there. If you do go to the scale of the orbit, so if you take the translation of the individual analysis center parameters and transform it onto the IGS final, you see that GIG did have a significant improvement in the scale comparison to the other ACs. And I'm sure that Felix will touch on that a little in his talk a little bit later on, amongst many other topics of what's going on in the analysis lab. And then in terms of the final products, in terms of the clocks, there is two big jumps in the standard deviations. The first one was by JPL. They completed their reprocessing run, and they've gone down significantly in the standard deviation. They've come straight back down to the top ACs in terms of weight, and they got weighted very, very soon thereafter. It's a bit hard to see down here as well, but there was also a jump at the same time by code in their position of their clocks as well. So that was related to the rapid products, I think, as well, the same sort of improvement. While the products have been going out nicely, and there hasn't been any major issues in terms of the clocks and the orbits, there are some ongoing issues with the IGS ACC in terms of we had some major problems with the time alignment in the rapid and the final products. At least on one occasion for both products, they started to diverge significantly. We had to go back and reprocess it. And I think it's still, we have to go back and check the final time alignment, make sure that's right after this workshop as well. So Michael Coleman has been putting the question to me, do we really need to have two time-aligned products on the IGS? Is it better just to try and do a rapid time-aligned product, or is there value in having both a rapid time-aligned product and a final time-aligned product? So that's the kind of question I put to the ACs or to the timing community as well. There is also an ongoing issue with the combination software, which is well known amongst the ACs and the MDEX community. It has been, it's about 27 years old, 25 years old, and it's in need of a bit of a refresh. It's difficult to incorporate MJEX, but having said that, GFC have actually started looking into that. They're doing a talk in the MJEX session about their combination software, which is very similar to what we use at the moment. So maybe there's a way forward there. But there are other issues with the combination software in terms of trying to streamline its computation and how it behaves with other analysis centers and the way you control the weighting of the software. So there can be some improvement there. I think we think it does need a rewrite from scratch, but that's an ongoing issue that we need to try and address over the next few years. Of more pressing, or just as equal pressing need is Repro 3. Now, some of the ACs will be looking at this timeline and cursing me. We went through a process asking the ACs when they think they'd be willing to start to do Repro 3. And most of them were saying they were not ready to start until the end of 2019. So here's trying to highlight that we really need to try and get the Repro running started as soon as possible, so we allow enough time for the IGF release to happen around about mid-2021. So if we want to release in mid-2021, we need to allow for about 6 months of IGF combination. We also need to allow 6 months of IGS combination time to combine all the products from the different ACs. And we need to allow about 6 months, 9 months, maybe a year for the ACs to process all of that data to get through. That's quite a big chunk of 27 years of data to get through, and it gets harder as you go back in time, so it's a big effort to go through. So if we were to start in mid-July, we might be able to make it down there. If we delay it, then we're running into the danger of delaying IGF 2020. So that is one issue. But that's very much dependent on the models that we decide to choose to apply for the IGS analysis ACs, for the analysis centers. So we're dependent on how many new models we're going to apply, how many new conventions we're going to apply, and how much time the individual analysis centers can allocate to actually implementing these issues. It's not an easy task for everyone to do. Generally speaking, the models that we're looking at, the major component for the IGF 2020 is to implement a new linear mean fall model. That's going to cause some discontinuities in velocities, as well as applying different gravity models. GPS is not as sensitive to the time variable gravity models as ILS are, so what we're really hoping is to get some guidance from ILS, what time variable gravity model they're going to implement, and we're going to try and ask people to implement the same model so we can stay consistent. The same applies for the high frequency EOP models. We've had a few talks in past workshops on these things, and again, I think the VLPI community is very sensitive to these kind of models, and again, we'll try and be consistent with that. But we're dependent upon them deciding what models they want and getting it to us in a timely enough fashion so we can get it implemented in the software and start reprocessing up times to the line. And a lot of ACs have indicated that they would like to provide multi-GNSS solutions. So that would be very valuable in terms of a repro time series. Even if the combination software couldn't handle it now, if it could handle it in the future, we'd have that to work with. So that might be something worth pursuing. Other issues that we're looking at are standardizing a set of antenna thrust models. There was a recent paper by Steigenberger on the new antenna thrust models. So that's an option. Of course, we're looking to the orbit modelling session to see how things are improving for the solid radiation pressure models, what we can do to improve things there. Moving to RINEX 3 and preference of RINEX 2, and these other questions that we need to answer. We can discuss those more at the Splinter Group meeting on Tuesday. Please come along and let us know your opinions, and look forward to that discussion. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, you're too easy on that. Thank you.
From the results, I found that there are some results from different centers have some different results. Especially some results are deviate from other results. How do we get the final product for the users?
How do we do the final combination? So for the orbits, they basically, all of the orbits get realigned so that they all have in the same sort of reference frame. They get combined into one orbit, and then they go through a weighting scheme. So there's quite an iteration through there. So a number of ACs have different, whether they're weighted or unweighted. Sorry, I answered your question.
Yeah. I guess that the two results maybe using the same models, but others using the nearly the same model. So I find there are significant differences.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the physical models are different.
Yes, so not all the ACs apply exactly the same models, and so you'll see that comparison in the CPQ track to see how well you compare to other analysis. Thank you.